welcome to another episode of Behind the Lens. And
what number is it right now?
This is week 39.
Okay.
This is week 39. And
Good.
yes, folks, you hear that voice. I know you almost forgot it, but he's back.
I almost forgot it myself. So
My cinematic cohort, Greg Srisavasdi, is back.
I'm gonna give myself a little clap. Thank you.
Because
So-
Brian didn't think to have the applause meter going.
No,
for you.
Brian. No,
Jeez.
Brian. You don't have to clap for me. He knows me, so he doesn't have to clap.
Oh my
So I'll
God.
do my one hand clap. thing.
Well, I am so thrilled that you are back. You've missed some good stuff. You missed Diamond Dallas
Feel the bang.
Page.
GDP's feel the bang, right?
You missed
Yeah.
DDP.
How was he? Was he good?
Yeah, he was
Nice.
awesome.
Okay, cool.
Don't ask me if he was
I
good.
was just wondering, putting
All that does is tell people you don't listen to your own show.
Oh, that's no comment on that. No comment on that.
No comment on.
I still haven't seen that documentary. So
Well, we're going to rectify that. And, just remember, October 14th, Resurrection of Jake the Snake will be at the ArcLight in Culver City. DDP will be there. Jake the Snake will be there. Stone Cold Steve Austin will be there.
nice.
Steve Hall will be there. And fingers are crossed, I am in contention to be one of the moderators for the Q&A. So we'll see.
So we'll have good news in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Okay,
hopefully.
good. Hopefully. Yeah.
But that's a huge, huge event that I'm looking forward to.
But very quickly, a couple weeks ago, I went to the ArcLight in Culver City for the first time, and I really liked it.
Didn't they do a lovely job?
Yeah, it's a nice kind of. It's my ultimate favorite is the one right next to Cinerama Dome.
Well,
so
of
I mean that's
course,
the
ArcLight Hollywood.
Yeah,
sure.
right, of course. But for Culver City, I think it's a perfect venue, perfect place, nice corner bar there. It's really it's a really homey feel too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I liked it.
They did a really, really, really good job there. So, yay, Gretchen McCourt.
Yeah. So
Another good friend of ours. But speaking of good friends, we have a very good friend of ours joining us later in the show today, Jane Clark, the head crazy bitch among the crazy bee nation. And Jane is back with us again. I think this is her third time on the show, and she's going to be talking about the sequel, Crazier Bitches, and the IndieGoGo campaign going right now.
and I'm very excited to see where this kind of universe is going to take us.
I know.
Because, the first film actually left kind of a, a little bit of a cliffhanger. You wonder what's going to happen to these people.
Well, she already has some artwork done that she's had out on Facebook and on Twitter, and it looks like it's Christmas themed with mommies and Christmas ornaments.
Okay.
So, and as we all learned in the Santa Claus, tinsel, not just for decoration anymore.
Okay, yes.
So who knows if tinsel might be one of the crazier events that unfold. So we'll see what Jane has to tell us. But at the quarter-hour mark, we have Gil Cates Jr. And for those of you that don't know Gil Cates Jr., he's a filmmaker in his own right. He was an actor for a number of years. And he is the son of the beloved Hollywood legend, Gil Cates, former president of the Academy. And Gil has a new film out. It had a theatrical release earlier this year. It's now on DVD and I think VOD as well. The Surface, starring Sean Astin, Chris Mulkey. And this is Chris has been acting since 1976. Our paths crossed in the 80s with things like Matlock and Dukes of Hazzard and Murder, She Wrote, but this is really a breakout starring role for Chris, even though he's been prominently featured most recently on Boardwalk Empire.
Okay.
He had a permanent role on there, but interesting film.
So it's kind of a survivalist drama, maybe?
I think it's
elements?
I think it's survivalist, but I think it's also a relationship film as you watch these two men who are stranded in the middle of Lake Michigan. And at various points in their lives, and you see this melding and this understanding and come together. It's that to me is more interesting. I think the marketing the first go around, they were trying to market this as a thriller. I don't see this as a thriller, but we can talk to Gil, and also joining Gil will be the screenwriter, producer, and he also has a small acting part, Jeff Gendelman. So The boys will be with us at 11:15 or so. Jane will be here like 11:35 or 11:40.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we have lots of interview clips and things for you. Starting with last week, I started talking about Peace Officer, the wonderful documentary by Scott Christopherson with Dub Lawrence, former sheriff in Utah, who founded the SWAT team in Utah years ago. And as the tides have turned and life has changed, that same SWAT team ended up killing his son-in-law.
Oh.
And Dub, who retired from law enforcement and works cleaning drains, sewers, cesspools. You know, you go from one kind of muck to the other.
Okay. Yeah. Now that was a visual.
That's a visual.
Yeah.
Trust me, when you see the documentary, you'll see it is really a visual. But Dub he needed answers to what happened. And as he went digging, the investigation proved to be poorly done. There were things that were overlooked. And then there were other people in the community experiencing the same things. None of the violence of the cases that are looked at and that Dub talks about, the Scott profiles, none of them are race related, which is one of the interesting things. This documentary, actually, they went into post, or they were in post when Ferguson happened. So all of this predated, but this was just the biggest thing that that is shown in Peace Officer is we've gotten away from the policeman is your friend, and the police are now in paramilitary tactic training mode all the time. And rather than diffuse a situation,
right,
they can escalate a situation just by the very nature of the new kinds of training and the new equipment that's brought to them. And there are some recreations because some of the crime scenes were so shot up by bullet holes nobody could restore the houses. They walked away from them.
Oh my goodness.
So Dub went back in with the camera crew, and they actually could recreate and thanks to geometry, could actually measure where bullets should have landed. Because if you fire 114 rounds and police only recover 31, where's the rest?
Right.
So this is the kind of stuff that Dub now does in his spare time, and Scott's cameras were there to catch it. But to pick up where we left off last week, I talked to Scott about the construct as to how do you decide how to approach a documentary like this. And here's what he had to say.
We certainly wanted to tease out what was going on in the film a bit, and also show Dub's his charisma, his interesting character, and then really you could of course watch the film. Who's ever listening to this, I guess, but the backbone of the film really is Dub's son-in-law's case. You know, he started the SWAT team, as you know, in the first SWAT team in Utah in the 1970s, and then that same SWAT team kills his son-in-law, and that kind of irony forms the backbone of the film, and we keep continually coming back to that story, to him uncovering more truths and learning more and evidence that Dub was gracious enough to give to us, and then we kind of, as you know, you see some recreations of him walking us through what happened.
And as part of that, of the recreations and the interest in the documentary, is getting inside Dub's head, learning his thought processes. And Scott talked to me about that as well.
We really wanted to show what was inside Dub's head. You know, Dub can talk, and what he says is really interesting. He's a charismatic guy, but I think getting inside his head and kind of visualizing what's inside this guy's head was really interesting to me. And you'll see in the films these really interesting visualizations of him picking apart a scene, or having strings that it almost looks like this complex web of bullets that he's analyzed, and it shows really kind of the genius of this main character and what he's done. So we knew we wanted to follow the Brian Wood case and recreate that and have Dub kind of lived through that and walked through that for us, as well as the other bigger case, which is the Matthew Stewart raid, where he had uncovered so many bullets, as he had mentioned. And that visualization I think is important for viewers to kind of understand what's going on. We started shooting this film after, Dub had been collecting evidence since 2008, but we started shooting the film, interviewing Dub and following Dub in September of 2012. And then we finished post-production really in January of 2015, right, in preparation for South by Southwest. And we would follow Dub off and on. I was in Texas at the time, and we shot the majority of the film in the summers of 2013 and some in 2014. And then I would periodically fly back to Utah, or Brad was based in Utah, so he would shoot some scenes when I couldn't be there. Brad and I both have day jobs as documentary film professors, so we were limited in how much time we could spend, but it was really nice to have someone to direct with. I met Dub and then ran the idea past Brad, and we decided to kind of do it together, and it was a really wonderful partnership for me. And Dave is our producer as well. He was really great and did all kinds of unimaginable things behind the scenes to make this happen.
So I have to say that, watching this all unfold, this is a police procedural, a real one, but done with heart, done with sympathy, empathy, and it really sets up a great discussion for people about where our police force is headed.
It seems such like a tragic documentary too.
It
Just
is
the premise of it.
Yeah, and what amazes me is Dub is the most upbeat, happy man. You meet him, you talk to him, and even throughout the film with all the tragedy, I mean, this is his son-in-law's murder that he's by fellow officers that he's investigating. And he always maintains a smile and an upbeat attitude, and very religious man.
That takes a lot of strength, eh?
It does, and I can't recommend Peace Officer enough. It really is. It's a fascinating documentary, especially in our times today. And, given that last night was also the series finale of CSI after 15 years, if you're craving a little really good investigatory viewing, hop on over and see a real story.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
But a fun movie that I am in love with.
Yeah.
You haven't seen yet.
I have not seen. I haven't been watching movies the last couple of weeks.
I know.
So,
You've been a dutiful son,
Yeah.
a dutiful nephew. Yes, you could give everybody lessons in how to be a good son.
Oh, thank you. So what is this movie that you really love?
This movie is The Green Inferno. Eli Roth returns to the directing chair.
The trailer is amazing. Comedy and horror, kind of, in a way?
It truly is.
Mainly horror.
Well, it depends. I found it quite entertaining.
Okay.
But then that's me.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We've got a bunch of college students that they're going to go out and be activists and save the world, and they decide they're going to take a weekend trip down to the Amazon rainforest.
And it's shot in the Amazon.
It is shot. This is where Eli is shooting now in, as he calls it, Chillywood. Aftershock, which he produced. Right. That Nicholas Lopez wrote and directed. Nicholas is also, he's involved here. If Eli's involved, Nicholas is involved, because they really are true partners. And they have whole studios down there in Chile. They went for this film. They went over into Peru. They went into the Amazon. They actually went, and let me see if I can find it.
This is very interesting.
It's because it's extremely fascinating. They went all the way down the Hualaga River. The last filmmaker to ever go down anywhere near there was Werner Herzog, of course, when he did Aguirre, The Wrath of God. But Eli and company went further than that to the Kalanayaku tribe. No electricity, no running water, no modern conveniences.
No trailers,
No trailers, no cell phones, no nothing.
No 5-star hotel.
No.
None of that.
And this is, they had to explain what films are and what filmmaking is, and they convinced them to let them film there. But there's so many issues that Eli brings up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Social media, activism, cultural lifestyles and influences. He also partnered with Blumhouse with this one. Blumhouse has a new division called Blumhouse Tilt. And as we saw with Lazarus Effect, Blumhouse also has ventured into the issue debate with some of their films. Lazarus Effect was science versus religion. So for me, this is like a perfect pairing of Eli Roth and Jason Blum. Cool. So at the press day, I had a chance to ask some of my favorite people about writing these social issues, thematically creating them this way and exploring them through this horror genre. And Eli went into this very lovely discussion about the entire process of the Green Inferno.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Brian is taking our call. Okay, what should we do? Should we run our 4-minute clip, or should we take our caller?
I would say take the caller and then we go right into the Inferno.
Okay,
afterwards.
well then that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And we have the wonderful Jeff Gendelman on the line. Hi, Jeff. Are you?
Hi. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. And I think Brian is looping in Gil also. Are you there, Gil?
I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Hello.
beautifully.
I know that voice.
Jeff Gendelman, sir. How are you?
Debbie, the work that we've done together, I am so proud of, and to the extent that Gil Cates Jr. has made this whole project really reach its potential. And it's wonderful to hear your voice again, sir, and what a wonderful many-year collaboration we've had together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. And I'll let Debbie lead it, but I will say, Jeff, you wrote an interesting piece of work, so it was a pleasure to collaborate with you.
I have to agree.
So, Debbie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I mean, I knew your father and had the privilege and pleasure of speaking to him many, many times over the years. So now to talk to the second generation is a real thrill, Gil.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it.
And I have to tell you, you have done your father proud.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
I appreciate it.
I mean that sincerely. As a second generation in the business myself, I take our responsibility to live up to them very seriously. But
I really appreciate that, and I do as well. This is why I always, have him in mind with everything I do. What would he do? What would happen right now? What would that conversation be? So.
Well, and what would your dad have told you to do when you said, I'm going to film a whole movie in the middle of Lake Michigan?
He would have said, my boy, you're nuts.
Yep.
It was, he would have appreciated the challenge, which it was. It was a challenge. It was a great challenge, and a great challenge for me personally, just at the time in my life when it happened. But it's something that you can't really. You can only prepare for so much, and then you just go out there in the water, and life happens. So it was a challenge, and I think he would have appreciated it a lot.
I mean, that's one of the things that struck me about as I'm watching the film. Once we get through the initial setup, and then we get on the water with Sean Astin's character of Mitch in this little boat, and then I'm watching what you and Jimmy Samarco did, and I'm thinking, oh my God, because you're just not filming on the water. You have underwater camera shots. You have planes crashing. You have things happening out there. This was a very involved shoot from a directorial and technical standpoint, and at the same time, fueling the beautiful relationship that you wrote about, Jeff, between the characters of Mitch and Kelly.
I mean, I'll say this, and then I'll let Jeff talk. It's because Jeff wrote that beautiful relationship between these two people and the journey that each of them take that made all of us want to work on all the tough logistics of shooting on water and and having to rehearse late at night. So when we got to the set the next day, and it took 3 or 4 hours to set up the boats and anchor them, because this wasn't a $50 million movie where we could just leave barges out in the middle of the water. So we had to kind of reset up every day, and all of that, I think, if it was for a project or a genre or a character study that we didn't believe in, would have been deflating. But because we all believed in it so much, what we were doing, that it kind of lifted us all to do the extra whatever it is that each of us, and there were a lot of us that had to do extra things, had to do because of the kind of interesting story that Jeff laid out.
Mm-hmm. And Jeff, tell me, where did this story come from? I know initially when the film was...
Debbie, you're a little faint.
Oh,
yeah, a little faint, so I'm doing my best to stay with you.
Oh.
Yeah, for me too, by the way, Jeff, but I could hear just enough. But yeah, you're not alone.
They're having trouble hearing Brian. Do something about it.
Just a little
I
faint
have
like
to say,
this.
Debbie, in listening to what Gil just said, it certainly made every single person on this shoot appreciate land so much better, because it was rather unpredictable. But we knew that going into it, because the pre-production, the development of this particular project lasted so long that we had to have many, many plans, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and eventually we went with P. so it really made a difference. But Gil, he was really the first director. The many, many, many years that I kept looking for directors, kept looking for different producers, he was the first one that really believed in, let's do this in Milwaukee. Let's actually use Lake Michigan. Because all the other directors, they wanted to do it in the Caribbean, the Atlantic, the Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico. And in ocean, it's difficult to make it a Great Lake. But a Great Lake can look like an ocean. Mm-hmm. And because Lake Michigan is a co-star in the movie, it was very important that I hold out to shoot it in the location in the upper Midwest, in the Milwaukee area, and on Lake Michigan. And including any good film, as you would agree, really does educate in some way. And nobody really knows the Great Lakes. And it really has a wonderful personality. And even though we only had a 2-month window every single year to shoot this because of the relative calm of July and August of every year in the Great Lakes area, the other months are way too hazardous to shoot this kind of picture. Mm-hmm. So every March, for years and years, I would really ask myself, are we ready to go in July? And whether it was the cast, or whether it's the financing, whether it was the DP, you name it. It just had, and finally in 2013, everything lined up 2 years ago, and that's why we were able to move on and actually have a go at it. And again, in my life, as in many lives, everything is for a reason. So it wasn't ready 5 years ago. It wasn't ready 8 years ago. It wasn't ready 15 years ago. And every year the script got better. There have been probably 75 drafts, 159 polishes throughout the years. And also, I didn't have Gil. I didn't have Jimmy San Marco. So Jimmy San Marco came out about 5 years ago, and in a rare turn of events, the DP was brought on before the director.
Wow.
And as Gil and any other great director can attest to, generally the director has a say in the DP. And I just knew Jimmy was had a good sensibility about the Midwest, and I had more knowledge of the Los Angeles and the New York crew, but not really the upper Midwest. And Jimmy is shooting a lot in the Chicago, Milwaukee area. Mm-hmm. So he was brought in to handle a lot of the below the line, and Gil and Jimmy hit it off wonderfully, and so that really helped a lot on the production side.
And I'll say this just to add to what Jeff said. So I remember after I read the script and Jeff told me that Jimmy, or before and after I read it, that he had a DP involved. I said, I really like the script. I really like you. Jeff and I had a mutual friend or two, or maybe more in retrospect, but at the time, one or two. And I said, I need to meet this Jimmy Samarco guy. And Jimmy flew out to L.A. I don't know if it was to meet me or he had something else here, but we had a great breakfast. And I knew right afterwards, I was like, I would be silly not to want someone who is from Milwaukee to shoot in Milwaukee, who'd been living with the project for a couple of years, in his mind. And so that was once I met Jimmy, I knew, that's when I officially committed.
Hey guys, this is Greg, Debbie's co-host, and I have a quick question about Mitch's journey in this movie. His life is pretty much torn apart by tragedy, and he's kind of receding into his own life. I'm just wondering, what is it about Mitch's story that really drew you guys into his journey, and could you relate to that journey yourselves?
Jeff, I'll let you...
Yeah, sure. Everything in the picture is based on actual events. I cobbled the story together as the writer, and the vision of myself as also the producer throughout the many, many, many years of development of this story. Mitch is an everyman, and he was at a point in his life where some of us get to, where it's not all heading in the direction that we thought it should be by the time you reach 40-something. And when all of these events conspire against an individual, no matter what, life is worth living. Even on the darkest days, there's light. Tomorrow is a new day. And those are part of life's riddles, Greg, that I like to deal with as a writer. And certainly the surface illuminates these riddles. And these two people, Mitch and Kelly, they'd never be friends in real life, but circumstance brought them together, and they're antithetical in a structural sort of way. And I really gravitated toward that yin-yang of characters. So without one, they would both be dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They needed each other. They become each other's guardian angels. And that was very intriguing. And, of course, the actors, the amazing Sean Astin and the amazing Chris Mulkey, and even Mimi Rogers loved the script.
Well, and Mimi...
actors throughout the many, many, many years of development always loved the script. They just really gravitated toward it. It's just a matter of timing to find the right person and make sure all the elements come together to have a production. But I always enjoyed that relationship where it was character-driven. This story never relied on car chases. It never relied on large explosions. It never relied on sex. And that's okay in other movies, no doubt about it. But this one wasn't going to be having those elements because of the matters of the heart. It really made it so that caregiving, that nursing quality, that you never know who's going to be your guardian angel.
Mm-hmm.
And such is the case with Mitch. And when everything was done and everything is lost and there's no friends and the mom is quite deep into the state of Alzheimer's, and Dad was just killed, his girlfriend was killed, and he had his job wasn't that great, and even so, life is worth living. And that's a message that's extremely important to put out into the world. And as a result, we're having wonderful feedback from audiences all over our country, and it hasn't been released yet around the world. And now it's just been released on demand in DVD just a couple of weeks ago. And so once we started hearing back from audiences and certainly film festivals, it's done very well around the country. A lot of them shared that they would say thank you after watching it. Thank you. I'm going to show this movie to my dad who's not doing very well. He has depression. Or another person in the audience would say, I wish that I showed this to my mother before she committed suicide. That kind of thing. So it's really having this whole wonderful secondary, wonderful benefit to audiences, not only those of us who are on track, who cerebrally, mentally we're okay, but those of us who might look okay on the outside, but really it's inside we're a little bit off track. We might have anxiety or PTSD or stress or are suicidal or are deeply depressed, but not look that way. And that's 20 to 25% of the world, as I'm talking with more psychiatrists and psychologists about these staggering statistics about people with mental, mood disorders. And so we're finding that the armed forces are gravitating to the film now. Not only the United States Coast Guard and the U.S. Army, and I'm speaking in a couple of weeks over at Dover Air Force Base in front of, I think they told me about 1,000 airmen and airwomen about how do you be resilient in life? How do you find
That's cool,
hope?
man. You didn't tell me that. That's awesome.
That just happened.
Yeah,
and
great.
How do you find when you think you've got that PTS or PTSD? How do you find hope? And they're finding that when people watch this movie, they can begin a conversation to find hope because of watching these two guys deal with each other, and they become friends, and they need each other. So you just never know where it's going to come from, and this whole aspect of guardian angels is a wonderful life riddle I'd love to explore.
Well, and, a testament to making this work. The idea of Mitch is somebody who's at the end of his rope and has nowhere to go, and we have Kelly who will do anything he has to keep his family afloat. If this had been in the hands of less experienced actors, and especially Chris, who this is his leading role of his career.
Correct.
And he is just... the range of emotion that he brings, you feel the anger, you see him lapsing in and out of lucidity, from his injuries from a plane crash. And, it just, he is the one that really, really puts it out there for Sean to then feed off of. Impeccable casting job matching these two guys up, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Gil, thank you. Yeah, it was very important. And also, dovetail, Debbie, off of that fact of rehearsal that Gil brought up earlier, these guys understand the rehearsal process. They love the theater. They like to dive in. The script was always okay. They just made it really, really good. And with Gil at the helm, it made it that much better. And again, every night we'd explore the next day's shoot, the next day's pages, and they loved diving in and just really going to the whole another level of understanding of these characters. And as a result, we see this wonderful arc of their characters, and the actors themselves love the movie. So they're big ambassadors for The Surface. And, of course, that makes us really happy.
Well, I have to say, it's well known Mimi Rogers is very particular about the roles that she will take. So if Mimi is attached to a script, there's something there.
I will tell her you said that. She'll like
wonderful.
that.
What was the greatest challenge? Once you finally got your financing, finally got this put together, what was the greatest logistical challenge about making The Surface happen?
The water.
The water. Greg, Debbie, there's no question. I mean, we could have we were offered that same tank in Mexico that All Is Lost was shot in.
The
Titanic was
the
shot
Titanic
in.
tank.
But, we didn't have that kind of money anyway to begin with to even consider shooting in a tank, how expensive that is. But it wouldn't have been as real.
Right.
We needed the conflict, the nature of being on location on this great lake, and the air, the shifting winds, the water currents. In fact, it's the 6th largest freshwater lake in the world. It has more shipwrecks per square mile than anywhere in the world, any water in the world. And people don't know that. And so here we are on this, trying to anchor this little 17-foot picture boat. And in back of the camera we've got the support boats. But, off camera you've got these riggers and these gaffers trying to, control everything and the waves. And, it's very, very, the grips, I should say, not the gaffers. But so it's extremely difficult to just be with a body of water. You can't tame it. You just have to be with it. And had we had a longer shoot, it might have been a little bit different here and there in the story, in the different parts here and there. But the fact is, the heart of the matter came out in the story, and that's what we fought for.
Well, you certainly succeeded. I mean, it speaks to the heart, it speaks to relationships, and it speaks to positivity and hopefulness.
Well, thank you.
Wonderfully said.
Well, my curious thing is, I wondered when was the first time you guys actually saw it at a screening, had it screened in that darkened room, and getting that reaction from the audience? That must have been probably one of the best feelings throughout production for both of you.
I mean, for me, and by the way, as I mentioned to Tim, I have to jump off in 2 seconds, and I apologize for that. But just for me, it was the first time we had people other than Jeff, myself, and our wives look at it. We had a little screening in an editing room, at a little screening facility in the editing room for about 12 people, and learned a lot about it too. Because like any piece of art or a project that you work on, you see what works and see what doesn't. You see what doesn't work, but that was really satisfying to know that some of the time and the moments that we were taking were working, and it's because again it's a slow build movie compared to what is typically out there now, and it's two guys basically on a boat for 90% of the movie. So seeing it with people and feeling that they were with it, and then of course getting their feedback after was really helpful and rewarding.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I hope that for your next projects you will come back.
Wonderful. Of course. If you guys are as nice as you sound, I'll come back after a good dream.
Hey, I tell everybody I'm an equal opportunity offender, but there are some.
And Debbie, if people want to know more about the picture, they can certainly go to our Facebook page, The Surface Movie.
Okay.
And it's also
see some pictures and
the website, The Surface Movie.
Of course, it's available on Amazon and iTunes, and it's in every Best Buy and Walmart in in the States and Canada right now. And so
and thesurfacemovie.com is the website.
Okay.
That you were referencing.
And we will also have all of the social media information on the video of the show later this week after it's edited. So all of that will be on there too, so that people can find you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you both so much, Greg. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Greg, thank you. Debbie, thank you.
You're so welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And she's here. The leader of the Crazy Bee Nation, Jane Clark.
Hello.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Just, pushing the ball up the hill.
Well, and that is why you're here. So that
How far up the hill are you right now?
I'm really very close to the bottom.
Okay.
And the ball's very heavy, but it always gets there eventually.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how long and how hard.
Okay, good.
So everybody already knows about Crazy Bitches, but now we're into the next stage with Crazier Bitches.
Yeah, we're getting crazier. I've decided to up the ante on everything, basically, because it was interesting when I was shooting Crazy Bitches. I had this strange delusion that I was going to make a PG-13 movie that I could, appeal to a wider group of people. And I should have known just by reading my own script that there was no way it was going to be that's what I was going to end up with. But I had curtailed a lot of things that I might have gone further with in an effort to do that, and it was a mistake. But I decided to take the limitations off of this one and really go for it. So it's gonna be a wild ride. And I've finished the script. I mean, I'm never finished, but I've got it to a place right now where it's so good. I'm so excited about it. I just can't wait to actually be on a set shooting this thing.
Well, and to get you on that set, you've got an IndieGoGo campaign running right now.
I do. I've got an IndieGoGo campaign to get basically to get us started while I look for additional funds from sponsorship and product placement.
Mm-hmm.
So, the idea is to try to. I have this grand plan where if I could raise enough money through donations, product placement, and sponsorship, I'm going to give the movie away for free for a week.
Wow.
And because, I told you guys about the piracy that we got hit with. And I started thinking about, well, how do you turn that into a positive? Because it does say that people are interested and that you've got a fan base and that, when we do Crazier, we're going to have the same kind of reaction. So instead of trying to fight it, I'm trying to figure out a way to join it, and then take control of it to some degree. So if my movie is going to go out there for free anyway, how do I control that?
And I mean, because I've gone over your whole IndieGoGo campaign, and I love the way you've broken it out, and the whole idea of sponsorship and product placement. You really have succinctly broken this out so that anybody can be part of this.
Well, that's the plan. I mean, how can I engage everybody for the journey? Because I get a lot of people I can find people that are really interested in not just the film itself, but the process and being involved in the process of getting it made. And I think the more inclusive I can be, it's helpful to me to have outside opinions on things and to have people on for the journey, because I'm getting another viewpoint. So that's cool, and that changes how I look at things. I actually have a reader that I always go to who's a minister in Colorado, non-denominational minister, because her outlook on life is so completely different from mine that I get a really fresh perspective. And I find when I get emails from my fans going, "Hey, did you think about this?" or "I really love this actress. Could you think about casting her?" I get a lot of that, and it gets me thinking outside the box, and I find it makes it more fun too when you're not alone going on the journey.
Well, I know Greg's got the IndieGoGo page up on his laptop right now, and you've got some of your perks are already sold out.
Yeah, well, we have those are like one-offs really, and I did put up a new IndieGoGo intro video that's a little more comprehensive than the one that was up there before, because I realized that I don't just need to go to the people that already know me. I need people to understand who I am outside of that group. But the perks are really fun. I mean, I tried to think about in each section. So if when I'm doing development, what is development? Development is the script, and it's the LLC, and it's hiring a casting director and doing casting. It's those kinds of things. So I tried to gear a lot of the perks to that, or to throw back to Crazy Bitches. So if people don't know Crazy Bitches, it's an introduction. They can get the DVD, they can get the script, they can get things that introduce them to the first movie to get them excited about the second. So when I move into pre-production, those perks are all going to change, and they're going to deal with things that I'm dealing with in pre-production. So it should be fun. I think it should be fun.
I think it's one of the most original campaigns that I've seen.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And you know how many I look at all the time. And I just
no kidding.
And I just laugh at and go, pass. No, and the fact that people, if they have not seen Crazy Bitches, they need to, because it is hilarious.
Yeah. Very well written.
Yeah.
And very well shot too. Yeah, very well shot. I love the locations too. Yeah, but
good location's awesome.
Great production value on it. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I really, we do. It's interesting because when you're pirated, you don't know who or where or where people are coming from, because they're often somebody else's, zone.
Yeah.
So the trick is, like, how do you find those people that pirated it and liked it, because they may come back and they may go, "I'll support you," even if it's the $11, the $11 thank you perk, which, by the way, and IndieGoGo doesn't allow raffles and things, but what I'm doing is that anybody that enters in at $11 gets the $11 thank you perk, gets put into a raffle to name Guinevere Turner's character.
Oh.
Yeah, because somebody bought that perk and then gave it back to me as a donation to raffle it off to raise money.
That's very nice. Wow.
So it's the kind of fun things. I mean, Guinevere's character is very, soap opera Susan Lucci sort of grand dame, and it could be fun coming up with a name for her. It's like a three, first, middle, and last, and then I don't know, it's a little pricey, but because it's very particular and I only have one opportunity to have it. But if you're into that kind of thing, you can actually plan a murder that is going to happen. You can pick the ornament and then talk with me about how you see it happening, and I'll do my best to incorporate ideas that somebody else brings to the table with the script that I already have. So that's kind of a fun one. And I really like, and nobody's taken it yet, but I have this poster, which I use this sort of filler girl that I shot on an early poster we had for Crazy Bitches. And if you want to shoot yourself laying dead on the ground with as much blood as you want and whatever particular murder weapon you want.
And you have the best blood guy around.
Poster.
Oh, my God.
So you could have yourself dead in a Crazier Bitches
Okay,
poster.
which perk is that? Which perk is that?
I
might.
forget what it's called. I think it's called.
There's some people that I think I would pay just to have that poster made to see them laying there dead.
I think that's the B is in the poster. B is in the poster.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the entire word.
B is in the poster. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because
we don't want to actually say that word.
No, because
I'm just
because it's Jane and I know we're always held to a quota on that word.
The quota. No, I like the $99 perk, which along with the signed copy of the script and the DVD, the original film, you also get a Skype convo with Jane. Jane. And you get to actually talk about filmmaking, and she'll give you advice on, your journey as an indie filmmaker. So that would be really helpful for up-and-coming filmmakers too. So just having that Skype
combo.
Yeah,
that one's been pretty popular actually. Yeah. My husband was like, "Oh, be careful how many hours in a day do you have?" I was like, it's not like 1,000 are offered. There's only 30. There's only 30 opportunities for it. So
yeah.
I love talking to people. I like talking to lay people who just have a curiosity about how film happens, or just have questions about something that might have happened on the set, or how did you make this murder happen, which is always a question you get. And I also love talking to filmmakers who are up and coming. I mentor filmmakers when I have an opportunity, and I really enjoy it. So for me, it's a perk too, because I get to communicate with somebody who's as interested as I am in what I do. And yeah, so.
Well, I just like the fact that people can they'll be able to talk to you and say, how do you make that murder happen?
Yeah. And what really happened between those girls when the cameras weren't rolling?
Yeah, was there any real bloodshed going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Because
I actually think, I'm thinking about the experience of shooting Crazy Bitches. I've been really planning out Crazier, not just in terms of shooting the film, which, writing the script and shooting the film, that's something I do as a matter of course, but to really also prep this time so that we're shooting how do we make the prosthetics for this particular murder? How do we make these things happen? Shoot it behind the scenes so that I can put it as part of the extras package, so people can really get an insider view. I find it's really strange to me, but filmmakers tend to want to hide the truth about the mechanics behind things.
Right.
Like it will take the fun away or take the mystery away, but I don't think it does that, and I think that there's a lot of people out there that are curious, that would like to know. So I'm going to try to be more proactive on my extras this time and think about what somebody might want to see, and then make sure we have it on film.
So everybody can go and get involved. The IndieGoGo, it's IndieGoGo.com.
And
no, it's IGG.me/AT/CrazierBS.
Or you can just Google it on IndieGoGo to Crazier Bees. Mommy's behaving badly.
Yeah. Or you can find it through me on all of my various...
On Facebook, on Twitter, and we're going to have, as you know, all of that is going to be on the video of the show.
Cool.
So that people don't have to take notes while they're listening. They can just look later in the week and watch, and they'll see it there.
Yeah, at least go check it out. There's the video is kind of fun that I put up because I'm using clips from the old film, and the perks are fun. So you can get involved in a very small way, or you can get involved in a bigger way. There's options for everybody, and they'll be changing every week. I just put up a name Candace Kane this morning because Candace just officially signed on with me.
Wonderful.
So,
Wonderful.
Yeah, she's. We had been talking about it for ages, and she had already said, "Yeah, I'm in with that, whatever you're doing." But I never like to announce it until I get until we talk and I get a yes, of course I'm in. And I know she's read the script and she loves it. So, and that's kind of fun because she's playing this, woman who's lost her husband and child, and she's drowning her sorrows in alcohol, and she's got a questionable sexual past with this boy, and it's a really fun, big, tragic role that I think she's going to really pull off. But you can go name her. You have,
Well, after we're done the show today, I'm going to go in and look at all the new perks now. I may have to help my favorite crazy bitch even more.
I'm just amazed. I'm looking at the figures right now on IndieGoGo. I'm kind of amazed that you shot Crazy Bitches for $220K. It looks a lot more expensive than that. So, wow, amazing.
That's what makes the piracy issue even more egregious.
Yeah.
That's where it gets crazy, because when you work so hard to find ways to make the budget that limited, and you make a lot of sacrifices along the way to do that, you think that you're doing it because you can make that money back for your investors because you're being cautious and you're being responsible. And even that budget level doesn't get made back if you lose the bulk of your viewings to piracy. It's just it's crazy. We're in a crazy world right now in terms of distribution and how people view movies, and it's just one of the reasons why I want to try to find another way to finance it and just join the pack, because I even thought maybe going to some of the piracy sites, some of the torrent sites, and say, look, I'll give it to you, but you need to only put my URL up, and let's work together, and you can have it for a week, and everybody who wants to see it for free and won't pay anyway, go at it, have a good time,
Wow.
Well,
that's the plan.
Well, my friend, I thank you so much for joining us again today.
Always my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And of course, you will be back as we keep updating perks and get further into the pre-pro.
Excellent. I will look forward to it.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Have a great day, you guys.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was Jane Clark.
So interesting. Such an interesting interview.
Jane is always. I adore her.
Yeah.
I adore her.
The thing is, she has really great content. Her films are really good, and it's just about getting that financing and making, even more important, making sure it's not pirated to that level.
Yeah.
So.
Because you and I were both mortified when we found out how many hundreds of thousands of dollars of downloads were pirated.
Yeah.
All of her investors could have been paid back.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We're going to watch this one closely and see what happens with the sequel.
I'm excited to see if she gets the money, what she's going to do with the 550.
Yeah.
Because the original looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, we promised you Eli Roth. So let's hear Eli Roth talking about the Green Inferno right now.
This is the first movie I directed after having acted under Quentin, and it changed the way I wrote. When you've acted alongside Brad Pitt, Christoph Waltz, Diane Kruger, it changes the way you approach writing a character. You're really approaching it from an actor's point of view, and there was so much I learned from Quentin, from the way I write the characters to ditching the monitor. There's no monitors, there's no chairs, there's nothing, there's not even trailers. We were truly in the Amazon. But it gave the film a certain kind of energy, a certain kind of look. I was operating a camera a lot. I was in the movie. When we're writing the movie, even Cabin Fever came from fear of AIDS and disease. Hostel came from my reaction to this kind of George Bush America of policing the world and this feeling of invincibility that Americans can buy and sell anything, and then they become the thing that is bought and sold. And Green Inferno, it's really came out when we were seeing this kind of Twitter shaming going on. And I remember after we finished the draft of the script, we were all getting on a plane, and all of a sudden our Twitters blew up, and everyone's going, Coney 2012, what's wrong with you? How come don't you care about child soldiers? And we're like, what the is this? Everyone got this very high and mighty self-righteous attitude about something they hadn't heard of 24 hours earlier. And then a month later, it was Free Pussy Riot. And don't you care about these girls that are and if you don't tweet about Pussy Riot, then you must be anti-freedom of speech. And then if you're not tweeting about Bring Back Our Girls, then you spoke Boko Haram, and what's wrong with you? And you're Gamergate, you're an SJW, you hate women. People go crazy. And there's this kind of now that we have this connectivity, look, I think that social media is an amazing tool. I saw, the Arab Spring and what you're seeing going on in Ferguson. You can see the news as it's happening, and you can call people out on terrible injustices. But there's also, you see the kids in the Green Inferno, it's not that they care about saving the rainforest, they care about being recognized for caring. And that's, it's not when they chain themselves to the trees and do the protest that when they stop the protest, they're crying, they're upset, they're going, what the hell do we get into? But when they've made it, when CNN retweeted them, then they're happy. Then that's the party. They made the homepage of Reddit, and boom. And those are the people I want to see crash. So, I want to see them get eaten by people that are like, oh, you're an invader, you're our food supply. So what's interesting to me, and Jason and I have talked about this, is that the haunted house is never as scary the second time through, that the first time you see a movie, the blood stains your eyes and you just see red. You come out of it with those images. But I love the movies you can watch again and again and again, and sometimes you're like, oh my God, they're saying that. That's really interesting. Oh wow, that tracks all the way through. You see that oh wow, Justine kept her foot in Moby Dick. Moby Dick is, Melville has references to Queequeg's a headhunter in that movie. There's a little cannibal thread there. And Lynn Sky, what she's talking about, the protesters, the way they just, those people don't want to care. They just want to look like they care. That when you give people something to chew on, that the second time they're watching it, they're not watching a horror movie. They're watching it. Okay, watching a movie, watching an adventure movie, and that's what Jason when he saw the movie. First battle was kind of making the movie. The second battle was rescuing and saving the movie. And Jason was amazing, but he really saw. We like horror films. We don't want to make a movie that's just going to play to one weekend. We want a weekend 15 years from now that people are still talking about the movie, and that's what Jason does so well in his films. And also with Nicolas, being from Latin America. We live in a world that's a mixture of cultures. This is most of the kids are Latin, but we write, okay, there's Alejandro and there's Daniel has an accent, but we're not writing Latin characters, just writing characters. That nobody, in fact, Lorenzo's Latina, but she's playing a white girl. It's not, she's playing a gringo. So there's no address, these are just characters in the movie, and this is the world, and some of them have accents, and that's a reflection of the world that we live in.
So that pretty much covers
everything,
every aspect of the film.
Yeah, they should just have an Eli Roth podcast with him just speaking for about an hour straight.
Oh, but Eli...
It's riveting. His stuff is riveting.
He's so intelligent. He is so well-spoken, and he's so passionate about his project.
He has a couple of opinions here and there.
And, I like the way he infuses social issues. And now that Blumhouse has teamed up with him in the BH Tilt division, I think this is a perfect marriage.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to... He doesn't hide behind his storytelling. He actually has a pointed, opinion about things. So about his genre-specific films. So the movie's good, right?
Oh, I think it's fabulous, and the use of shooting down in the Amazon. Number one, it's going to look beautiful.
It shows up on the frame, right? It does look beautiful.
Oh, okay. But beyond that, the cinematography dazzles because everything is saturated. Okay. So we are in this very heightened sensibility for the whole film, much as was done with Aftershock, much of what Nicholas Lopez did with Aftershock. We get that again here, and Eli sticks to the primary colors of red, yellow, and green. Warning, stop, go. Green trees, go. It's beautiful, it's marvelous. Red, blood, ooh, bad, stop. Yeah. And obviously, we just got the music that we have to stop already. So we didn't get to anything on 99 Homes from Laura Dern and Ramin Barani. Hopefully next week. Also joining us will be Noel Clark, writer, director, actor of The Anomaly, which is now on DVD. And hopefully you'll be here. It depends on what happens with our press day next week. Yes. Hopefully. Of us we'll both be doing interviews next week on the upcoming movie Truth. Yes. Which is fascinating. Very good. The Dan Rather story. And the one instance with the George Bush military service records. So depending on when I get our time set for our interviews, you may be here, you may not. Maybe. Yes. We'll see. Okay. And then hopefully the following week we'll have, I'm hoping, some big surprises that week. Oh, nice. Now you're going to surprise me, right? So. I try. Good. Okay, that's it. We're out.